Welcome back, Sebastian here. Time for my review of sprint qualifying for the 2024 Chinese Grand Prix. Well, what an exciting end to that session it was. First two sessions, first two parts of qualifying, pretty standard, but last part, pretty exciting and a bit of a, a controversial finish, perhaps. So, starting with sprint Q1, it was a Red Bull 1-2, 7/10 of a second ahead of Alonso in P3. So a bit of an ominous start for the rest of the field. Tsunoda, Sargent, Ocon, Russell, and Albon were the five drivers in the drop zone after the first laps. So they were the drivers who really had to pick up the pace during the final laps. Of course, for the sprint qualifying 1 and sprint qualifying 2, the medium tires were mandatory, so no hot laps on the soft tires. And there were some drops of rain, not enough to go onto intermediate tires or really to cause any chaos. But it was noted that there were some very, very light drops of rain at this point. Anyway, after the final runs in sprint qualifying 1, Gasly, Ocon, Albon, Tsunoda, and Sargent were the five drivers knocked out. A bit of a surprise with Tsunoda, given that the Racing Bull is a bit of a quicker car, but he did look quite slow in practice 1 earlier today, so not entirely surprised. And then the track decided to set itself on fire again. So if you didn't watch FP1, basically it seems like there's a part of the track in Sector 2 where they have this grass, and the sparks of the car from the car bottoming out, getting on the grass, sets the grass on fire. So not ideal. They dealt with that, so we had a bit of a delay before qualifying 2. And with the risk of rain, drivers were queuing at the end of the pit lane just to make sure that they could get a flying lap in as fast as possible. The five drivers in the bottom five after those first laps were Stroll, Ricciardo, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, and Russell. A bit of a surprise to see Russell in the bottom five as well as Stroll being so low down. Rain expected with 3 minutes left in the session, and because of the sprint qualifying format, there's not really enough time to really do a lap, do 3 laps in the middle. So not a lot of time after that first run to basically do another run before the rain comes. With 2 minutes left, rain falling, Russell goes out. He knows he's in the drop zone. He knows he needs to improve, but not able to do so. So unfortunately, all five drivers who were in that bottom five after the first runs, they were all knocked out in Q2, which meant that Zhou, at his very first home race, of course no experience at this track, able to get himself into sprint qualifying 3. Bottas doing so too, so really good job from Sauber and a good job from Zhou. So into the final session we go. In the break between sprint qualifying 2 and sprint qualifying 3, the rain really intensified, and drivers go out on intermediate tires. Leclerc was in the gravel, sector 2, had a bit of a spin there, but he was able to continue in the track, very, very low grip. Reminds me a bit of Turkey from 2020 and 2021. Even with the higher grip intermediate tires, you can still see that how many corrections the drivers have to make on the steering wheel from the onboard camera. So it looks very, very tricky out there. Verstappen was off at turn 4. Piastri, first driver, to set a time of 2:02.548. So that's about 20. It was about 20 odd seconds slower. Actually, no, I think it was more than that. It was like 25 seconds slower than the times in Q2, showing just how much time lost there was from the wet conditions. Perez goes top at 2 minute 0.45, so almost over 2 seconds faster than Piastri. Bottas goes P2. Verstappen and Zhou's second laps both get deleted for track limits. Norris gets a purple sector 2. Verstappen then goes to the drive at the final corner. Gets that lap deleted for track limits as well. Alonso goes fastest, 2:02.13, I believe. I don't know how that could work. I guess Perez might have gotten his lap lead for track limits as well there. Hamilton then goes fastest by 9/10 of a second, and then followed by Norris, who does a 1:57.940 before that lap gets deleted. 5 drivers going around on their final laps, and basically every driver has finished their lap except Hamilton, still in first, and it looks like Hamilton will be on sprint pole, but then suddenly a message comes in from the FIA saying that Norris's lap was reinstated. So looks like, I guess they decided to put the lap back on because he didn't actually broach track limits at whichever corner it was. I believe that based on the replays they were showing, it looked like it was the last corner. He didn't definitely go past the white line, but kept it on basically the curb there. So not sure exactly what the ruling is. We'll see what happens if anything changes after this, but definitely a little bit of controversy there. So your starting grid for the sprint tomorrow morning: Norris on the sprint pole, followed by Hamilton on the second row and all British front row. So Sky Sports should be happy with that. Alonso third, Verstappen fourth. A bit of a surprise to not see him at the top in a wet qualifying session. Sainz fifth, Perez sixth, Leclerc seventh, 8th Piastri ninth, Bottas and Zhou. Both really good jobs in the Sauber. 11th Russell, 12th Magnussen, 13th Hulkenberg, Ricciardo 14th, 15th Stroll, 16th Gasly, 18th Ocon, 17th Ocon, 18th Albon, 19th Tsunoda, and 20th Sargent. So a little bit of a mix-up grid. I still expect Verstappen to win the sprint tomorrow unless it's raining, in which case, who knows? Who knows what will happen based on the results from sprint qualifying here. But yeah, realistically, DRS zone's super long, especially that long back straight. So really, Verstappen will probably win the sprint if it's dry. But anyway, pretty interesting session. And of course, if this was just a regular practice session, it would have been basically just drivers sitting in the garage for the second half of the session, not a whole lot of interest happening. So it would have been an interesting qualifying session out of it, so not too bad. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow with my review of the sprint and qualifying. Goodbye.